Oh, yes, quite lovely. And very like Maple Grove, you know. I'm quite struck by the likeness. This room is the very shape and size of the morning room at Maple Grove.
Is it not astonishingly alike?
It is. It is delightful for me to be reminded of a place I am so very partial to. Whenever you are displaced, you'll understand just how pleasant it is to meet with anything like what one has left behind. I always say this is one of the evils of matrimony.
Yes, I suppose.
And the grounds, as far as I can observe, are strikingly like. People who have extensive grounds themselves are always pleased with anything in the same style.
When you've seen more of this country, I believe you've overrated Hartfield. Surrey is full of natural beauties.
Oh yes, I'm well aware of that. Surrey is the heart of England, you know.
Many counties, I believe, are called the Garden of England.
Oh yes, I fancy not. You are mistaken. I have never heard of any other county but Surrey called so. Your father's state of health must be a great drawback. Why does he not try Bath? I have no doubt of it doing Mr. Woodhouse good.
My father tried it more than once without receiving any benefit.
But it could not fail being of use to Mr. Woodhouse's spirits. And as for yourself, the advantages of Bath for the young are pretty generally understood. A line from me would immediately secure you some of the best society in the place.
I am quite afraid that our going to Bath is quite out of the question.
We have been at Randall's today, and very fine people they seem to be. I like them extremely. There's something so motherly and kind-hearted about Mrs. Weston. She was your governess, I think.
Indeed she was.
Yes, and having understood as much, I was quite astonished to find her so very ladylike.
Mrs. Weston's manners were always particularly good.
And who do you think came while we were there?
I haven't the faintest idea, I am sure.
Knightley. Knightley himself. I have never seen him before, but of course as a good friend of Mr. E's, had a great curiosity. Isn't that right, Mr. E?
Indeed, Augusta dear. In fact, I was just saying to Mr.
Hush,
Knight.
dear. I've heard him mentioned so often that I was really impatient to meet him. Knightley is quite the gentleman. I like him very much.
Yes, quite the gentleman.
Well, Mr. Woodhouse, I believe we must bid you good day. Will you be attending afternoon tea at the Randalls later?
Most certainly.
Well, as the new bride, it is custom, I fear, that I should be the best dressed at the occasion. I know such wanton traditions are a bore, but they must be adhered to. What shall you be wearing, if you don't mind me asking, Miss Woodhouse?
This.
Oh, splendid. Good day to you, Miss Woodhouse. Come along, Mr. E.
Insufferable woman. Worse than I'd supposed. Knightley? Never seen her in her life before and call him Knightley. I doubt whether he'll return the compliment and discover her to be a lady. And Mrs. Weston, astonished to think that the person who brought me up should be ladylike. Oh, what Frank Churchill would say to her. Ah, Mr. Churchill. Always the first person to be thought of.
Miss Woodhouse. If I didn't know better, I'd say you were hiding from me. Jane Fairfax is absolutely charming, is she not? We must endeavour to bring her forward. Such talent as hers must not remain unknown.
When you are better acquainted with Miss Fairfax's situation, I have no idea you can suppose her talents can be unknown.
Oh, but she is now in such obscurity. Any advantages she may have enjoyed with the Campbells are now at an end. I can see she feels the want of encouragement.
You appear to feel a great deal, but I've no idea of their giving her any benefit.
Oh, a vast deal may be done by those who dare to act. I shall be constantly on the watch for an eligible situation. My acquaintance is so extensive that I have little doubt of hearing of something to suit shortly. Do excuse me. I say, Miss Fairfax.
Poor Jane Fairfax. You may have done wrong in regard to Mr. Dixon, but you do not deserve this. The kindness and honour of Mrs. Elton. Upon my honour, there seems no limit to the depravity of that woman's tongue.
I'm sure Miss Fairfax is perfectly capable of deciding the extent of her own attachment.
Well, I know how highly you think of Jane Fairfax.
Yes, anybody may know how highly I think of her.
And yet you may not know how highly it is.
Ah, I see. So you've been settling that I should marry Jane Fairfax? Well, that will never be, I assure you. Miss Fairfax, I dare say, would not have me if I were to ask her. And I'm very sure I shall never ask.
I've been scolded too much to make such a presumption. I have not your wish for marrying Jane Fairfax or Jane anybody.
Miss Fairfax is a lovely woman, but she has not the openness of temper which a man would wish for in a wife. Excuse me.
Well, what do you say to Mr. Knightley's marrying Jane Fairfax now?
I say that he is so much occupied with the idea of not being in love with her that I should not wonder if it were to end in his being so at last.
I hope you did not venture far this morning, Miss Fairfax, and I'm sure you must have been wet.
I only went to the post office. A walk before breakfast does me good.
Not a walk in the rain, I should imagine.
My dear Jane, what is this idea going to the post office in the rain? This must not be. I can assure you Mr. E is quite capable of fetching your letters for you, aren't you?
But of course, my darling, I should be most happy to
Hush,
oblige.
dear. We will say no more about it. This thing is determined. If a situation is to arrive, it would do you no good to be unwell. Have you really heard of nothing?
I've not even made an inquiry, and I do not wish to make any yet.
But my dear child, it is April already. One must begin inquiring directly.
I make no inquiry myself, and should be sorry to have any made by my friends. I am quite serious in wishing nothing to be done until the summer.
And I am quite serious too, in resolving to always be on the watch.
Hello everyone! Oh, please forgive the intrusion, but I have some exciting news. It's a letter. It's from Frank. He's coming back to see you all. He'll be back at the end of the week by all accounts.
Excellent news, Mr. Weston. I am pleased for you.
I shall soon have the opportunity to introduce you to my son, Mrs. Elton. You have heard of a certain Frank Churchill, I presume, and know him to be my son, although he does not bear my name.
Oh yes, and I shall be very happy in his acquaintance. When Mr. Churchill arrives, he will find a new addition to the society at Highbury. That is, if I may presume to call myself a new addition.
I believe Mrs. Weston's letters have been full of very little else lately, Mrs. Elton.
I have very little doubt that my opinion will be decidedly in his favour. I have heard much in praise about Mr. Frank Churchill. At the same time, I am one of those who will always judge for themselves. I can assure you I am no flatterer.
Well, you shall certainly have an opportunity, Mrs. Elton, for you are shortly to be in receipt of an invitation to a ball, no less, at the Crown Inn. It has been delayed due to Frank's departure, but we're now quite sure of setting a date.
A ball? And as the new bride, it will be in my honour, presumably.
I must go and find Mrs. Weston and tell her this exciting news.
Excellently contrived, upon my word. Nothing wanted, but not to imagine it. Oh, it's absolutely wonderful. Jane, did you ever see anything so lovely? Oh, Miss Woodhouse, how do you do? This is such a transformation. How do you like Jane's hair? She did it all herself. It is charming to be standing amongst such friends and such a noble fire. I feel quite roasted.
Nobody can think less of dress than I do, but when everybody's eyes are on me, I would not wish to be inferior to others. I can see very few pearls in the room except mine. Mr. Frank Churchill is a very fine young man indeed, Mr. Weston, and a capital dancer as well, I understand. We shall see if our style suits.
How do you like Mrs. Elton?
Not at all.
You are ungrateful.
Ungrateful? What do you mean? No, do not tell me. I do not wish to know. When are we to begin dancing?
And what are we to do for a proper partner for her? She will expect Frank to ask her.
I'm an engaged man this evening. Miss Woodhouse and I are to have the first 2 dances.
I'm afraid that won't do, Frank. Mrs. Elton, as the newlywed bride, is most insistent that she should be afforded the first dance with you.
Well, this is unfortunate and quite disagreeable.
On the contrary, I do declare that you and Mrs. Elton would make the most wonderful couple. I'm quite willing to waiver my agreement with Mr. Churchill. I think it entirely right and proper that he dances first with Mrs. Elton.
Miss Woodhouse, I do believe that you and I shall have our first falling out this evening.
Ladies and gentlemen, the dancing is about to commence.
Mr. Elton?
Most readily, Mrs. Weston, if you will dance with me.
Oh, I should find you a better partner than myself.
Well, if Mrs. Gilbert wishes to dance, I would be more than happy to stand up with an old friend at any time.
Oh, Mrs. Gilbert does not wish to dance this evening, but there is a young lady whom I should be very glad to see dancing. Miss Smith.
Oh, Miss Smith, I had not noticed. How observant of you. But I'm an old married man. My dancing days are behind me, Mrs. Weston. Anything else, and I would be happy to oblige, of course, but my dancing days are behind me. Mr. Knightley, I was just...
Excuse me, sir.
Knightley has taken pity on poor little Miss Smith. Very good-natured, I declare.
Jane, where are you? Mrs. Weston begs you to put on your tippets. She said there'll be draughts in the passage. Excellent dancing indeed. I'm all amazement. Such elegance and profusion. How on earth are we going to recollect half the dishes for Grandmamma? I should not be helped so soon, but it smells most excellent.
It was so good of you to dance with Harriet. Mr. Elton's manners were beyond contempt with his wretched wife looking on.
They aimed at wounding more than Harriet. Emma, why is it they are your enemies? They ought not to be cross with you, although, confess, you did want him to marry Harriet.
I did, and they cannot forgive me.
Well, I shall not scold you. I leave you to your own reflections.
I do own myself to have been completely mistaken in Mr. Elton. There was a littleness about him that you saw in which I did not.
Well, in return, I shall tell you that you would have chosen better for him than he has chosen for himself. Harriet Smith has some first-rate qualities. A lovely girl, infinitely to be preferred by any man of taste to such a woman as Mrs. Elton. I found Harriet more conversable than I expected.
Oh, Miss Woodhouse, Mr. Knightley, what are you all doing? Come, Emma, set your companions the example. Everybody is lazy, everybody is asleep.
I'm ready whenever I'm wanted.
And whom are you going to dance with?
With you, if you will ask me.
Will you?
There's not such an age gap as to make it all improper.
No, indeed. So you consent to dance with me?
I do.
Come on, you're quite safe now. You just need to rest.
Goodness, what has happened? Tell me at once.
I was out walking and I decided to take the Richmond Road. I saw the gypsies coming. There was almost a dozen children and a scout woman. I ran, but I fell when I tried to head up the bank.
You did everything you could to avoid them.
They wouldn't stop following. I gave them a shilling, but I had no more in my purse. I tried to walk away and they surrounded me.
I'm surprised they were travelling the Richmond Road. It was fortunate that I came upon them when I did.
Oh, yes.
Are you injured in any way?
No, Miss Woodhouse, but I'm so terribly shaken. It was a dreadful experience. Oh, Mr. Churchill, how can I thank you? How brave you were.
You were very brave yourself, Miss Smith, and I'm sure Miss Woodhouse will make it quite at ease again. Now, if you will forgive me, I'm afraid I have some business to attend to in town.
Of course. Oh, bless you, kind sir.
Good day.
What good fortune he happened upon you.
Oh, it was indeed. He was so gallant, quite the gentleman. Miss Woodhouse, my fright this morning has made me realise something. I am quite over Mr. Elton. Sincerely, that is the end of him.
And one suspects this may be the beginning of Mr. Frank Churchill. Well, whenever you do marry, we certainly know to do much better than Mr. Elton.
I shall never marry.
Never marry? This is a new resolution.
It is one I shall never change, however.
Harriet, can I speculate that the expectation of never marrying results from an idea of which the person whom you might prefer would be too greatly your superior to ever think of you?
Believe me, I've not the presumption to suppose, but it is a pleasure to admire him from a distance and think of his infinite superiority.
Yes, he was enough to change your heart.
Oh, the surface, when I saw him coming, his noble look, such a change from perfect misery to perfect happiness.
It is natural to choose so well, Harriet, but do not let your feelings carry you far. Unless you're persuaded of his liking you, let his behaviour be the guide of your sensations. I give you this caution now because I am resolved to no longer interfere. Let no name ever pass our lips. He may be your superior, no doubt, but matches of greater disparity have taken place.
I adore strawberries. The best fruit in England and everybody's favourite, especially when they are as ripe as yours. You have such lovely grounds, Knightley.
You are very welcome to explore Donwell further, Mrs. Alton.
Oh, I should like it of all things. If only you'd given me carte blanche of this little party, Knightley. I am Lady Patroness, you know. I could have invited so many others.
There is but one woman whom I can never allow to invite what guest she pleases to Donwell, Mrs. Alton.
Miss Woodhouse, I suppose.
No, Mrs. Knightley. And until she is in being, I shall arrange such matters myself.
Oh, you are quite the humorous, Knightley. Come, you must show me your gardens. I want to see everything.
Oh, Miss Woodhouse. Would you be so kind as to say that I am gone home? Until they all come in, I shall not be missed.
Of course, if you wish it, but you are not to walk to Highbury alone.
I shall be home in 20 minutes.
But it is too far to be walking quite alone. Let me order you a carriage. You are fatigued already.
I am fatigued, but the walk will refresh me. My spirits, I confess, are exhausted. The greatest kindness you could give me is to say that I am gone when it is necessary. Will you do that?
Of course.
Oh, Miss Woodhouse, the comfort of being sometimes alone.
This damned heat!
You'll be soon cooler if you sit still.
As soon as I'm cool, I shall leave again. I could very ill be spared, but such a point was made of my coming. And the party were breaking up soon. I met one as I came in. It's madness in such weather.
You should eat something.
I'm not hungry. If I eat, I shall only be hotter. I shall sit by you. You are my best cure.
We are going to Box Hill tomorrow. Will you be joining us?
No, certainly not. I shall go home in the cool of the evening.
But you may come again in the cool of tomorrow morning.
It will not be worthwhile. If I come, I shall be cross.
Then pray stay at Richmond.
But if I stay, I shall be crosser still. I cannot bear to think of you all there without me.
These are difficulties which you must face by yourself. Choose your own degree of crossness. I shall press you no more.
Well, if you wish me to stay, I shall stay. You see, a moment with you and I am calmer already.
Come, let us find you a drink. Hopefully ease your ill temper and cool you down further. Come along.
How about over there?
Oh, splendid, my dear. You've chosen...
Hush, dear. Knightley, what say you to over there?
Oh, we've been walking a long way, Mrs. Elton. I'm sure any spot will be pleasant enough.
Yes, over there. No, over here. I do declare this is the very spot. There's ample shade.
How pleased I am you convinced me to come today. Otherwise, I should have missed all the happiness of this party.
Yes, and you were very cross, and I do not know what about. I was a kinder friend than you deserved.
Oh, do not say I was cross. I was fatigued. The heat overcame me.
It is hotter today.
Not today, not to me. I am perfectly comfortable today.
You are comfortable because you are under command.
Your command? Yes, you command me whether you speak or not.
Dating from 3 o'clock yesterday, my perpetual influence could not have begun earlier, otherwise you would not have been without humour before.
3 o'clock yesterday? I thought I'd seen you first in February.
Your chivalry is really unanswerable. But nobody speaks except ourselves, and it is too much to be talking nonsense for the entertainment of 7 silent people.
I say nothing of which I am ashamed. I saw you first in February. Let everybody hear I saw Miss Woodhouse first in February. They are all quiet. What can we do to rouse them? I know. Ladies and gentlemen, I am ordered by Miss Woodhouse to say that she desires to know what you all may be thinking.
Is Miss Woodhouse sure she'd like to know what we're all thinking?
It is the very last sort of thing I should want. Let me hear anything but what you're all thinking of.
It is the sort of thing I should not have thought myself privileged to inquire into. I never was in any circle where I was obligated to say what I was thinking of, or commanded thus by little girls.
Very true, my love. Some ladies will say anything. Best pass it off as a joke.
It will not do. They are most of them offended. Let us try again. Ladies and gentlemen, I am commanded by Miss Woodhouse to say that she waives her right to know what you may all be thinking, and instead requires only something very entertaining from each of you. It may be 1 thing very clever, 2 things moderately clever, or 3 things very dull indeed.
Oh, well then I need not be uneasy. 3 things very dull indeed. That will do for me. I shall be sure to say 3 dull things as soon as I open my mouth, shan't I?
Ah, yes, but you might be limited as to number. You will only be able to say 3 very dull things at once.
Oh, well, yes. I see what she means, and I will try and hold my tongue. I must make myself very disagreeable, or she would not have said such a thing to an old friend.
I like your plan. Agreed. I will do my best. How will a conundrum reckon?
We're very low. We should be indulgent to anybody who leads the way.
No, it will not reckon low. A conundrum of Mr. Weston shall clear him and his next neighbour. Let me hear it.
I fear it not being very clever, but, well, here it is. What 2 letters of the alphabet express perfection?
What 2 letters? Express perfection. I'm sure I do not know.
Oh, you'll never guess. I shall tell you. M and A. Emma! Do you not understand?
Mr. Weston has done very well for himself. Perfection should not have come so soon.
I am not fond of this sort of thing. Miss Woodhouse must excuse me. I am not one of those with witty things at everybody's service. Pass us all, if you please, Mr. Churchill. I have nothing clever to say.
Yes, pass me. I have nothing that would entertain Miss Woodhouse. I'm an old married man, quite good for nothing. Shall we walk, Augusta?
We shall, Mr. E. Come, Jane, take my other arm.
Happy couple. How well they suit one another. How many a man has married after short acquaintance and lived to rue it all the rest of his life?
Such unfortunate circumstances do sometimes occur. A hasty and imprudent attachment may arise, but there are generally time to recover from it afterwards. It can only be weak characters who suffer an unfortunate acquaintance to be an oppression forever.
I have so little confidence in my own judgment. Whenever I choose to marry, will you find somebody for me? A doctor? Educator?
And make her like myself?
Oh, by all means, if you can.
Very well. I undertake the commission. You shall have a charming wife.
She must be very lively and have hazel eyes. I care for nothing else. I shall go abroad for a few years, and when I return, I shall come to you for my wife.
Shall we join Mrs. Elton?
Yes, please, dear. With all my heart, I am quite ready. We shall soon overtake her.
Emma, I must once again speak to you as I've been used to do. I cannot see you acting so wrong without remonstrance. How can you be so unfeeling towards Miss Bates? How can you be so insolent to a woman of her character and situation? Emma, I had not thought it possible.
Oh, it was not so very bad. I dare say she just did not understand me.
I assure you she felt your full meaning. She's talked of nothing since. with more candour and generosity than you deserve. I wish you could have heard her honouring your restraint when her company must be so tiresome to you.
Oh, I know there's not a more pleasant creature in the world, but you must admit that what is ridiculous and good is most unfortunately blended in her.
Yes, and were she prosperous, I could allow for the prevalence of the ridiculous. If she were your equal in situation, I would not quibble with you for any liberties of manner. But she is poor. She is sunk from the comfort she was born to, and as she lives to an old age, must think further.
Her situation can hardly be laid at my feet.
No, but it should ensure your compassion. Emma, she has known you from a child, and to have you now laugh at her, humble her, humiliate her, and in front of others, many of whom might be guided by your treatment of her. I know this is not pleasant to you, Emma. It is far from pleasant to me. I must tell you truths while I can. I can only prove myself your friend through faithful counsel. I must trust that someday you might do me a greater justice than you can do now. It was badly done, Emma. It was badly done indeed.